Wow! What's happening, everybody? This is Julian Gavilanis, and I am the Precipice of Delusion. Or should I say, I am Julian Gavilanis, and this is the Precipice of Delusion. Welcome to it. How are you doing? It is Thursday day, and I am alive and well. It is a new day, and we are ripping through it, guys. These podcasts are coming out. We're doing 2 a week right now, and it is quite a bit of work, not going to lie. But I'm having a really good time doing it, and I'm really grateful that a lot of you are tuning in and shooting me messages and engaging with me. I am having a blast doing this. I'm having a blast learning how to edit. I'm having a blast learning how to be a better conversationalist. I'm having a blast just having something to put my creative energy into. You know, the acting world is a little bit down right now, and so it's been hard to rely on that work to come in. And so I haven't, and I'm really trying to pivot. It kind of feels like an extension of the pandemic. I think it kind of is. Ever since the pandemic happened, it's really just, put a dagger straight through the heart of the business that I exist in. And maybe the pendulum will swing back, but in the interim, I am trying to just stay creatively occupied and keep cruising on the things that make me happy. And waiting around for my agent to call me to tell me that I booked a small role on fucking Law and Order SVU is not my idea of having a fun time anymore. So here I am, bling, boom, rock you like a hurricane. You like that? Check me out, baby. How do you like my low voice? Guys, I am getting good at the bass on my voice. I think if any of you guys saw the Valentine's Day special where we were rounding third, you'll know that I am the bass of that band. I think we can start it up again, guys. Me, Teddy Swims, Alan Stone, little Tommy Cantillon. What do you know about that? Rounding third, baby. We were hot commodity. Woo! Sorry, that was a little sidetrack, but that's okay. I am so pleased, guys, to announce that my guest today is such an incredible dude. I was really nervous, actually, going into this episode. I actually think I started sweating like midway through it just because I was still nervous while we were chatting. Not only is he the handsomest man around, but he's also one of the most talented and humble and endearing people I've ever met. He is so with himself. We get into it. He's been sober for 15 years. He's younger than me, so there's a story in there. It's a really kind of exceptional thing. His whole story is pretty remarkable. How he got to where he's at. He's a comedian, a stand-up, an actor, a producer, a writer, a director, you name it. This guy does it. He's hilarious. He's also very deep and very vulnerable, not afraid to go places, to get very raw and kind of expose the truth of himself, which I find to be the most attractive quality in people. And so I was so grateful to get to talk to my friend, Mr. Evan Williams. He and I met when he was living out here in New York, and I was going in for a movie that he was directing, I believe, and wrote. And we get into this story, but I rubbed a little soap in my eyes to get into character, and it was pretty fucking stupid of me. And it got so bad that I couldn't see anymore. I had to stop the audition altogether. Typical Julian, guys. Typical Julian stuff. One of these days I'll just learn how to actually act, maybe. But that was the only time we ever actually met. And we have just been kind of in touch ever since and championing each other's work and just being pals from afar. He now lives in LA. He is all up on that social media life, guys. He is a TikToking star. You've probably seen him before. He does a lot of really wonderful things with a lot of wonderful people. He runs the cystic. He doesn't run, but he has a foundation as part of this. I think it's the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation for his brother that he is doing a lot of work with constantly. And so I'll put the links to that place where you can donate if you want to in the description of this episode. And you can research all about him, guys, because he is an incredible dude and he's hilarious. And I really am pleased for you to get to know him if you haven't already. So, without further ado, this is my good pal and me talking. Evan Williams, ladies and gentlemen. Can I just say for a quick hot second that your fucking beard is prosperous right now and always. God damn, dude. You are handsome as fuck, dude.
Listen, dude, your collarbone's poking out. And I'm glad it is, you know? I'm glad
Oh
I
my
can
God,
see
dude.
the twirls,
I was
you
honestly
know?
nervous to talk to you because you're so handsome, dude. It's a fucking
Shut
it's
up.
a problem. I was like, this fucking
Absolutely
sucks, dude.
ridiculous.
This sucks.
Ridiculous, man.
No way,
Coming
dude.
from the man. I wish I could show you how I see you and you could do the vice versa. I think that would help us both.
How do you mean?
If you could see how handsome you are, bro,
Oh,
from other people's
yeah.
perspectives.
Well, you're your own worst critic, right?
Yeah, but you know, right?
Not really,
You kind
man.
of know.
Look at this
Really?
facial
Oh,
hair,
man.
dude. It fucking just choppy as fuck, dude. It's been growing for 2 months. I'm
So
just.
is Keanu Reeves, and he fucking rocks it, man.
It's true,
So
man. How often? I'm curious, man. Like, I don't know. I don't want to make this about like your aesthetic, but like how, because I see you on the socials and stuff, and you like make comedy out of kind of how people see you in the world, and like
yeah.
how has that both like made you boosted your self-esteem and also like fucked with you in a way?
It's a good question. It boosts ego. Uh, I don't think it does anything for self-esteem. Because
Sure.
that's up to me.
Yeah.
That's like self, right? So it might boost my ego in the moment, but ego is not self-esteem, and so I'll think I'm the shit for a second and then look in the mirror or go to a party and everybody's 6 feet, or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I just try and get points wherever I can, like learning that Killian Murphy is 5'7".
Mm-hmm.
That's
Totally, dude.
one of the best facts I ever heard
I
in
know.
my life.
I know.
Um,
Yeah,
he seems like
whenever I hear about people like Chris Hemsworth or something, whoever's just like such a babe and talented, I'm like, I'm just waiting for
yeah.
him to get some kind of sexual allegation because fuck this guy, dude.
Anything.
He's got to be an asshole.
Hashtag cancel Hemsworth, dude. I'll
Cancel
get it going.
Hemsworth. Come
Get it.
on.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Dude, how
Totally.
you going, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good,
Yeah?
for the most part. On paper life's good. I'll find ways to twist it in my head
Yeah.
and not be happy sometimes, but
Yeah.
I overall things are good. I got a little fucking dog sleeping here, and
Nice.
I got a lady that loves me,
Oh, that's
and
awesome, man.
I make silly videos and I write less silly scripts and trying to get something made and do a little stand up and life's good. Life's busy, but it's good.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on, man, because, I have started this podcast as a way for me to kind of selfishly just dive in to reconnect with people that I haven't spoke to in a long time, artists that I admire, and peers and other
Yeah.
people that I look up to, and really just kind of see if I'm not alone in feeling as fucked up as I have been feeling for the better part of a decade. Because I really do think that being in this space as an artist, as a creative, is wonderful when it's happening, when you're in pursuit of the creative thing and you're doing the thing, when you're making your videos, when you're like writing your things, when you're on that stage and you're doing your stand up. It's like, it's the best. It's like the thing that you're craving, right? All the time when you're not doing it. But
Yeah.
eventually you're not doing it and you're just sitting with yourself. And
Wondering if any of it will ever happen again.
yeah,
Yeah.
and also just wondering like who the fuck, like who am I to even, like, does anybody really care? Like, am I like actually important? And like it just, all of
Yeah.
these thoughts start to play with you. And I think, compounded by all that, as an artist, you spend a lot of time thinking just introspectively and being like, well, who am I? And like, what am I really trying to say and do? And how do I want to represent myself? And, like, what does all of this mean? And I've found that the more I've learned about myself, the kind of more like scared I am of myself and the world around me. And it's,
Yeah.
a blessing and a curse ultimately, I think. But um, yeah, man, I just, I reached out to you. You're one of like the first 10 people that I hit up because I was like, I feel like Evan would be a really solid person to chat with because I think we align on a lot of things. Um, you
I think
know,
so too, man.
and
Yeah, go ahead.
no, I just like, I think we've only met the one time in that casting room where I rubbed soap in my eyes. And like,
That's right, man.
yeah,
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
don't think we've ever like spent time together one on one,
I don't know.
definitely.
Yeah, Instagram's a weird thing.
Right?
It's like it's beautiful in a lot of ways. It's terrible in so many others, but it's wonderful in some because I feel like I know you and
Right.
I've watched your life pretty closely
Yeah.
and probably vice versa. And um, you know, I'll get vulnerable on here. I think you're in a close friends list of mine, like on on Instagram. So you've probably seen me melt down before, like a couple years,
It's the best.
and but you've also seen the side that not just close friends see, and it's just the celebrations and the milestones and the stuff, but I also really like your writing, even in like an Instagram post, as silly as that may seem,
Mm,
but you've got kind of a Josh Brolin
mm,
vibe to you, who I really look up to and respect. In that you kind of have like a blue collarness, to you,
cool.
which is like I remember something you wrote one time. You said that like acting is a blue collar industry, like it really is. It's just like about the next job, and it's a union, and you show up and you do your job, and everybody else is doing the same, and you kind of have like a bit of poetry to you in like the way that you write about who you are, about the intricacies of being an artist and having doubts and love and yeah, I really relate to your words, man.
No, I appreciate
So
that, man. Yeah,
I
that's
just saw you that one time and you rubbed soap in your eye. I mean, the second you came in that audition room, uh, I saw someone, no offense to the other actors, but for the first time that day, that really like made me open my eyes and like listen, and you made a choice before you came in the room. You made a very interesting choice to put soap in your eyes just to seem a little more inebriated and to have something that's bugging you, and I loved that. That was like such a risk. And not just that, but if you would have just came in and you were squinting the whole time, we may have had like certain theories about what that was,
right,
or
right,
if
right.
you tick. But you just at one point in the middle of your audition was like, "I gotta be honest with you guys, I rubbed soap in my eyes
Right.
before I came in." And like that honest moment where the guards came down and you were just a dude, or a big part of what stood out to me. And yeah, I really hope we work together, man.
Yeah,
At
likewise.
some,
Likewise, man.
I can tell you're a talented guy, and you know, I that was my first impression, and I guess you're right. It might be the last in person impression,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, man. Well,
it's
thank you, dude. Thank you for saying that. And the feeling's very mutual, man. I definitely have seen your life, on through a screen, I guess, and followed along. And it's always so interesting to kind of like feel close to somebody that you really never actually interacted with. It's like that is the
Yeah,
only interaction, and um, I don't know what that is. Like, I don't know how that happened. I mean, I guess that's like the beauty of social media, but it's all, it's like, because I, shit on it quite often, but at the same time, I don't know, man, there's something
yeah,
about like certain people that I resonate with. And I think, maybe some of the things, and I appreciate you saying those things about, the, my writing and the things that I have said. And I think, I think this entire time, that I've kind of been trying to do what I've been trying to do, I think the most important aspect to all of it for me has just been the honesty in it all. Like trying to unveil the honesty, even if I don't know how, trying to figure out what that is. What is honest about me? How honest can I be? Like I went
yeah.
through, and I know you can probably speak a lot to this too, because you let me just sidebar for a second. You've been sober for like since you were like before you were even 21. Is that correct or is that not?
Correct. Yeah, 19. I got
Jesus.
sober. I went to rehab at 19. And I'm sober 15 years now. So I'm 35. It'll be 16 years in October. As they
Jesus,
say,
dude.
God willing, one day the time I
Wow.
get to sober. But um, yeah, that's been a journey. We can get into that. I don't want to cut you off on what you were saying.
Yeah, no, I mean
Um,
it's resonated with me because I am sober myself, but
oh shit.
have really like had it's not really I don't want to say like a really difficult time navigating it, but I have gone in and out of it for the last like 7 years. Um,
Hmm.
and even in that experience, the truth of it all, to my like partner and to my closest friends that are around me, trying to acknowledge what I'm doing. Like, why am I doing this? What's the real purpose behind all of these things, and including not only just alcohol and drugs and the habits that harm me, but also these things play into like my acting and my writing and my producing, and all of the whole life is all one thing. And so I find that I'm really just trying more and more so to just like be transparent with myself and really kind of just like keep peeling the layers back and figuring out like what am I supposed to be doing here. And I don't know that I'm supposed to be necessarily doing anything or that you're supposed to be doing something, but what you are doing is a response to that question for yourself. And so when I see artists that are doing really cool things, especially when they can tap into their to the comedy like you've been able to do, it really just gets me excited because a lot of times I wonder, like, does that comedy come from an absence of like joy sometimes in your heart that you need to like create for yourself and put out into the world because you're having a hard time kind of like cultivating that in your own personal life?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, for sure, man. Sometimes it's because I'm in a good mood and I'm feeling funny, and I have a random thought that is funny, and so I write it down. George Carlin said the only difference between I'm not that funny. The only difference between me and you is I carry a notebook,
mm-hmm.
and I think it's like I have always been like a funny dude, and it's probably because of trauma,
Yeah,
I haven't met many stand-up comedians who didn't have some sort of trauma they were dealing with. I've met some improv comedians who didn't have any trauma. It's like nothing against improv. I mean, really, it's a compliment to them. They had
sure,
happy childhoods,
yeah,
but I can not all of them. That's fucked up to like
of course,
make a declaration about a whole sect of people, but you know I noticed that more so about stand up than any other art I've dabbled in is usually, man, somebody that needs, not once, but like needs to get up in front of people and be the entertainment in that moment and say something to them and get them to laugh a lot of times about trauma, if you're like an honest comedian, um, that person's been through some stuff. And I it's really dangerous to get into the thought process that you need to be sad to make something good. That's
Hmm.
like an artistic thing that I'm sure you've tussled with yourself, maybe. But I've certainly been there, and I've looked at like periods of my life too. Like, man, I was a complete fucking wreck at this time, and my creative output was like so great during that time, because I needed it. I needed it. Like, it's one thing I could control. And like, I was whatever I was going through, whether it was just like depression or being cheated on or whatever, like the one thing I knew was there was writing, and then I knew the stage was there. And unlike acting, if you want to get on stage, you can get on stage tonight. It might not be a sold out show, but an open mic, like you can always get on stage. And somehow, for some reason, when you get on stage, everything else goes away. And I know that sounds corny, it sounds cliche, but like I can attest to that. I mean, it's at least been proven in my life. Like, I will be backstage before a show having no idea how I can be funny in
Mm.
in in 1 minute, because they gave the guy the light and I'm up in a minute, and I'm in my head, I'm like, how in God's name could I be funny right now? You know,
Yeah.
like I gotta go funny guy, and
Hmm.
then I go out there and I say one thing that gets like a little bit of a laugh, and I'm like,
I'm
oh,
back.
I got this. I'm
Yeah.
back, and this, they it's not about what I'm going through. It's about this thing between me and this crowd right now, and they're responding, and they came here to have a good time. So why should I, just have a meltdown right now and tank their night, give them something to talk about on the ride home? Like, what was up with that second guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and so then I just commit, and it tends to be some of my best sets because I need it to be good. Because in those moments everything else is bad, and I need that to be good, and so I try even harder, and I'm a little freer, and I've been in my head all day, and so in this second I'm finally not, and I have this great time, and then I get off stage and I feel like I have purpose, and I just spent a whole day thinking I don't, and it's not always that dramatic, I'm a dramatic dude. I'm like, I'm
Same.
emotional,
Hmm.
I'm sensitive, I am dramatic and always have been, and so a lot of what I say is dramatic, and I don't want to make it seem like that's all it is. Sometimes it's just I have a show and I'm excited to do it, and it's just a good time. And before I go on stage, I remind myself this is all silly. It's like
Yeah.
I saw like an interview with like a round table of people, and they were all talking about how hard acting is, and then it got to, maybe you've seen this, it got to Denzel, and he was like, "Guys, we're not coal miners,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
like
I've seen that.
we get to play. Let's not forget that. Let's
Yeah.
like not lose sight of that." And when I was in New York and I was doing stand up a bunch, I everybody has things they do to amp themselves up, and a lot of us listen to like rap, or something like
Hmm.
Tupac or
Yeah. Oh yeah.
J. Cole, and I just like I'm walking around and I'm listening to like Kendrick, and I'm just like and then I realized, like, what am I doing? Like, I'm not a rapper. Like, I'm about to go be a clown. Why do I think I need to like take over, like build
Yeah.
an
Yeah. Yeah.
empire, sell
Right.
drugs, like right before I get on stage? So what I started doing was like, if I needed to listen to rap, cool. If I needed to listen to heavy metal, great. But right before I go on stage, I'm gonna play one track by Tenacious D, and
There you
like,
go.
because that will remind me that I'm a silly
That I'm
guy,
silly.
and
Yeah.
like this is for fun. Like, let's have fun,
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
How long have you been
it's
doing? When did you know that you were getting into like was it acting first or was it comedy first? Stand up.
I've always wanted to be an actor, my whole life. I mean, I was 5 years old, dude, and I would watch a movie, and then I'd go home and I would just act out the whole movie, like in my yard. And my dad would like look out the window, and I had like a wooden sword, and I like got stabbed at the end, and like I like died in the lawn because I had just seen
Just
Gladiator,
by yourself.
and I was just watching you like kill yourself in the lawn. I was like, Evan's different, you know.
Yeah.
But when I was in like elementary school, we had a computer lab uh, with like Windows 95 because I'm old,
Hmm.
and we had a day where we would go there and we were going to research what job we wanted when we grew up and come back to class and tell the class like how much money that makes and like what it looks like. And I looked up comedian, like that's like I was like 6, and
Wow.
like I knew that I wanted to be like Robin Williams and Jim Carrey and Eddie Murphy. Those were like the 3 guys. I love their movies, and it looked like they found a way to just be funny for a living. And home life was, my family loved me a lot, but we were different. And my mom struggled with mental illness, and I had a brother that was terminally ill, and I would go home and feel different, and I'd go to school and I'd hear different stories from kids about what their home life was like. So I felt very different. And
What your that was your whole life? Like your mom was struggling with mental illness, and your brother was suffering from this. He is cystic fibrosis. Is what your
oh,
brother
sorry. Yeah, yeah,
had?
yeah, cystic fibrosis,
Yeah.
and which is a lung disease that you're born with. And when he was born in 1978, the life expectancy was 18.
Whoa.
Today, it's grown all the way to 50, with research and medicine and
Wow.
technological advancements. And today I work with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, like the Los Angeles committee.
Hmm.
So we'll do like a stand-up show once a year at the Improv and raise a bunch of money. I've done some other stuff with them to like raise money and stuff,
That's cool,
and I
man.
take no credit. Like they
Right.
all do so much work, but yeah, that's what he had. And so there's a lot of like hospital visits, and
And
him sick,
and
but
your dad wasn't like how like your dad wasn't a funny, or was he a funny guy? Like how like you just were just out there in the lawn stabbing yourself in the heart, and everybody was like, "What the fuck is Evan doing? Like, where's this coming from?"
yeah, yeah. He was probably the most normal of us. Those 4 of us, me, my mom, my dad, my brother Noah, and he was pretty normal. I mean, he worked at the zoo, like so that's kind of weird.
That's
But
really
like
weird.
he was the director of the North Carolina Zoo, and so I also like kind of grew up at a zoo,
That's super
and
weird, dude.
it's kind of weird. Yeah,
It's
it
awesome. I
is.
mean, it's awesome, but that's giving some that's illuminating a little bit here.
Yeah, I was like born the same day as this chimpanzee. And his name was Quan, and he was like a brother, kind of like I would visit, and I like put my hand against the glass, and he would like put his hand against my hand and stuff.
Ah, cool.
That was my first job. I like dressed up as a giraffe
Wow.
and sold buttons to like raise money to expand the rhino
Mm-hmm.
exhibit. Oftentimes, I was like hung over in that costume,
Mm-hmm.
and like I had discovered like drugs and alcohol when I was like 15,
Mm-hmm.
and so all these families were like handing me their baby, and like there was a sign that said like don't hand the giraffe your baby, and they just like I don't know why it was like they took it as like uh, a challenge, so they would all like hand me their baby, and I'd take a picture, like, and little do they know, there's definitely like pictures out there of a hungover giraffe holding a child that's now probably an adult, you know what I mean?
Right. It's
I
probably
would love
safe
to
to assume
find,
all those mascots are ripped to some
I mean, New
capacity.
York,
For sure.
in Times
They're
Square,
on meth,
those are
dude.
meth.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like truly
They're like
horrifying.
shooting up on in Times Square.
Absolutely, man. I've never looked into Mario's eyes and seen anything deader than
Yeah, dude.
that.
No shame.
You know?
Just none.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, my dad, he was funny in a dad joke kind of way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My mom was hilarious. Like my mom was a very funny person. And again, trauma, right? Like Irish Catholic family,
Mm-hmm.
um, had a lot of trauma with that, and then struggling with mental illness in the 90s. you're given a lot of meds. They don't really know what to do with you. So she was on a lot of stuff, and she was that mom that was uh, fun, but you know, kind of different.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't get parented a lot. Um, my parents divorced when I was like 13, and I was kind of left in the house with my mom. And my dad and my brother moved to Greensboro, North Carolina. I was in Asheboro, and yeah, there was no parenting. I didn't need to do good in school. I didn't need to be home at a certain time. I threw a lot of parties because my mom would just knock out at night, and there was no waking her. So I would just have these ragers in this house, and that was how I found kind of my identity in high school. Just to be this big character, just big
Yeah.
like wild, backflips off the furniture, keg stands kind of guy.
It's insane,
And
man. I gotta pause you for a second because I had the
yeah,
exact same upbringing.
really,
Exact.
yeah,
I was like Steve
really,
Stifler.
yeah,
Yeah, my parents divorced when I was 11.
yeah,
I like utilized their divorce to like manufacture my own popularity through like throwing parties at their houses that they had like separated into, and just raging all the time, and built like my identity through that. It's wild, man. Like I thought we were similar in a way, but I didn't know that about you. That's interesting,
wow,
man.
man,
And I'm sure that's what like
yeah,
led you into like the drugs and alcohol route and lane and stuff as well.
sure, man. Who knows what did it? I mean, there's a lot of thought process around like where it comes from. Genetic. I believe there's some of that. And then like trauma, or just uh, being a kid and experimenting. But I think that like it can be kind of overcomplicated sometimes, and really it just comes down to I'm an alcoholic. Like I have the disease of addiction, and when I take one of something, my brain operates differently than a normal person. Like I want to keep that feeling going. The
Yeah,
pleasure track in my mind, in my brain, lights up, and all the other decision making lobes of my brain send signals, um, or get signals from the pleasure track to make decisions to keep feeding the pleasure track.
yeah,
When I pick up one of something, a phenomenon of craving happens and
hmm,
I can't stop,
yeah,
and that's really what it comes down to. I could blame it on all sorts of stuff. And I also like through therapy and um, work in recovery and just getting older, um, I won't sit on this podcast and like throw my dad under the bus or anything like that. Like my dad's a good dude. The divorce happened. That's complicated, but you know, we all could have done some things better. But my dad is like so in my life today, and is like a buddy, and it's like it's all love.
that's
I
great,
just want
man.
to say that for myself to make sure I don't like
Yeah,
look back on this podcast like, man, I really should have said how like beautiful of a dude my dad is,
yeah,
like how hard he tried and how hard he still tries today. And like, you know, we're all always growing up. And I've like said some stuff to my dad before, like about thoughts I'm having or something. And my dad has always said like, well, I'm 75. Um, and I'll let you know when those thoughts stop, you
mm,
know? Like that's gonna keep going. Like you don't just get I'm an adult now. When you're a kid, you think you get to an age and you're like, I'm an adult now, I'm fixed, I'm good. Like, the growing up is done. I have grown up. It's like, no, we're always growing up.
yeah,
And it's a beautiful thing to watch him grow up,
yeah,
like
man.
75 years old, like he's still growing up. And I'm like proud of how my dad is growing up. It's interesting, like how life flips like that.
Yeah.
But
So we'll earmark the sobriety journey, but I'm still curious, like what got you over to New York? Was New York where you first kind of planted yourself, like thinking that you were going to do art professionally?
yeah, I wanted to be an actor, and then I got in high school. I mean, I was just like I would show up hungover. I'd show up, still on drugs. Like was a party animal. Stifler was honestly an idol of mine. I mean, he
Me too.
really, you know what I mean? Like
Me too, dude. I
he's
do
a
know.
total asshole, and I was like, I want to be that guy. So that's like where my perception was twisted.
Yeah.
And um, I I did so bad in high school that I couldn't even go to university. Like, I graduated with like a college tech prep diploma, so I could go to community college.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched all my friends go, and I just spiraled. And I, at like 19 years old, was like, I need to get sober, and went to rehab.
And you had
And we
only
can
been, you
come
said
back.
you said your journey started with like drugs and alcohol at 15, so it would have been like a 4 year just fucking like explosion of nonsense. Sounds like.
Yeah, yeah. It just was. I was off to the races, man. There was no slowing down. And I mean, for a couple years, I did coke like every day. Just like every day. Like
Yeah.
I found a way. Like I would steal from a loved one. I would do whatever I needed to do to get money to get it. And I was gonna die, like for sure. Like I knew
Wow.
that for a fact. And so I told people I had a problem. I told my dad, and went to rehab. And I'm not trying to like focus too hard on sobriety now. We can come back to it, but just to get to New York, like I got out of rehab. I started working um, at the rehab like a few months after that, and I, I stayed sober a year, and so I started to speak um, at recovery meetings. I'll keep it anonymous, but recovery meetings, and I noticed that it was funny. Like what I was saying was like,
Mm,
for some reason, it was funny to these people. Like I
hmm.
was saying like horrific shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and that's what I love about sobriety is like, it's a place you go and you've carried shame about all this stuff and you're scared to say it. You're scared to say how you hurt people. You're scared to say how you hid drugs from your loved ones and from yourself, and then like forgot where you hid them. And so like a couple days later you'd find them and it was like a gift from you from the past, and then you do drugs again. And like you're afraid to say this stuff and then you say it and everyone nods their heads,
Yeah. We get it.
like
Yeah.
stuff, and they're like, "Welcome home, brother,"
Mm,
and they smell like coffee and cigarettes, and there's cookies in the kitchen, and everybody just has this like aura of love to them. And so I would speak to them, and it would just like it would get all these laughs, and I was like, "Well, damn! I mean, this is essentially comedy. I'm standing on a microphone in front of a group of people." And I was like, I think I could just do an open mic. So that was why that was how I got into stand up.
yeah.
And I I did a show and I had a good time and I did well for no reason. The jokes were horrible. Um, and then I entered a competition, like no experience. I was writing jokes just to do them each round, and I got to the finals and in North Carolina, and I thought I was the shit. So I moved to New York and just bombed,
How
so
old were
hard.
you?
And I was 22 when I
Okay.
moved to the city in 2012, and I was married at the time. I was
What?
married for 11, yeah, for 11 years. I was married from
What?
21, yeah, to 32.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so me and my wife at the time we moved to New York, and I started comedy there. And
Whoa.
this kind of like silly, like impression heavy stuff I was doing, which impressions are great. Like I've gotten back to them at this point with like a better approach, but it was just really lazy in the beginning. And I came to New York with that kind of stuff, and New
Hmm.
York wasn't having it. So I started talking about myself. I started talking about things that people couldn't call corny, and I started talking about addiction and loss. I had lost my brother when I was 18 to his illness. He was 28, and and I lost my mom when I was 21 or 20. Uh, Lost my mom. I was 20. And it was an unexpected kind of thing. I don't even really know the cause, but it was probably like an accidental prescription drug overdose. And
Jeez, dude.
I started talking about that stuff on stage, and bombing with that stuff is horrifying because
Oh
like
man, I bet.
that means something to me, and I'm like getting vulnerable, and So that was tough, but then I found ways to make it funny, and so I quickly started doing well in New York because I was just talking about me, and I was kind of talking about uh, quote unquote real, stuff. And so I gotten some success from stand up and got, manager and agents, and I did some festivals and got in at the clubs, and that manager agents started getting me acting auditions, and that's when I finally got to the thing that I had dreamt of for so long. Stand up is what where I landed,
Hmm.
and I'll always love stand up for that, and I still do it today, not as much as I did in New York, but that's just where I landed, and it taught me how to talk about my stuff, and it can be damaging too, like because you're talking about stuff until you get a laugh,
Yeah.
and then you get off on the laugh. So I wasn't really talking about stuff, and that was therapy, that I could finally start getting through that stuff and letting it go. Um, but yeah, stand up got me acting auditions, and
Wow, man.
I, for some reason, booked like a role on the show The Americans on FX, and that was my first like real experience on a set, and I was just fascinated, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it just blew my mind. I just wanted to know everything, like I had a trailer, but I was never in there. Like I was
Hmm.
just questions like, "What's that guy?" And they're like,
Hmm.
That's the key grip." I'm like, "Oh shit, what is that?" And
Yeah.
like, and then who's that? It's like, "That's the best boy." I'm like, "That's a weird name,"
Yeah.
What's he do? He's like, "He helps the key grip." I'm like, I just I was
Took it all
fascinated, and
in.
I had to do it myself. Like I didn't want to wait for that lightning to strike again to do it. And so I just spent every dollar I had to make the recovery call, this like short film, that you auditioned for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I could go back, I would have just written an extra role for you to be in, man. But
It all comes back
that
around.
was why that happened. I
Yeah.
just
Wow, man.
needed to do it.
I'm so
Um,
curious, man, because like it's pretty impressive that you had the wherewithal to do all of it. Like not just one thing, but every single thing along the journey. Like to stop, to have the wherewithal to stop drinking at 19 is already like a huge. Like I'm sure you were talking in those meetings, and maybe a lot of people were laughing just because they were like, "This kid's not even fucking 21 years old yet. Like, what the fuck?"
yeah,
Like what does he know?
there
But
was a lot
also,
of
I'm
that.
sure you were charming and funny and like actually had humor because of your experiences. But like, then to like, and then to put it into comedy, to like be brave enough to say, I'm going to get on stage and I'm going to talk about this experience and kind of like move through my grief this way. This is the way that I'm going to choose to do it. And then I'm going to now move to New York and pursue this. And you kept like kind of like leveling up with yourself and in like a pretty fast pace from, I mean, I'm sure it didn't feel that way while you were in it, but I'm
Mhm.
curious because sometimes I feel like I don't know how to wait for things to happen for me. So I'm like, I gotta fucking make it happen. I gotta fucking do this. And it's very much like
Yeah,
associated back to my like addiction mentality, where it's just like all or nothing. I gotta fucking like, if I'm gonna have one, I'm gonna have fucking all of them. I'm gonna go fucking crazy. Like same thing with
yeah,
work. I'm like, oh, I gotta. If I like get a little fucking snippet of an idea, I'm like, everything else gonna fucking happen right now. It's just like, and there's a
yeah, yeah,
really beautiful thing that comes from that because it, you know, allows for productivity to take shape and to build things out. But a lot of times, man, it is a fucking whirlwind and it whiplashes me a million times over. And I can get real overwhelmed real fast. And I'm curious, like through that journey with yourself, as you were kind of like ramping up, were you just like always overwhelmed and just like freaking out? Or did you feel like sane through the process of it all?
a mix. As I got a little older, it start you have so much healthy delusion, in the beginning. You're just like,
You have to.
the world is mine, and I need to do this, and it's fun. So I I'm just having a good time, and I'm in the beginning of stand up. You're just making your friends laugh. I mean, it's just like
Hmm.
it's just open mics with people like me. And then you start getting in front of real people, doing check spots at clubs, and then doing guest spots, and then finally getting paid. Um, it's like kind of a perfect progression. It's like when Tarantino, like they ask him, like, "What's your favorite part of filmmaking?" He's like, "It's really set up so beautifully. Like, it happens in a perfect sequence. Like I love writing it, and right when I can't stand writing anymore, it's time to pre-produce.
Hmm.
And then like right when I can't fucking take planning it anymore, it's time to shoot it. And then right when like I am exhausted, like it's time to wrap, and I get to sit in the editing bay. Like it's like that. It's like I could never go back and do open mics the way I did them again. But the energy I had to do that at that age with that hunger, it wasn't that hard. It was so much time, it was thousands of hours, but just running around the city doing 3 open mics a day with my buddy Mateo Lane. We ended up living together too. He like moved in with me and my ex-wife, um, and just the energy. Like I can't imagine having that energy for that, But
Hmm.
then today I'll get booked on like a short film or something like that, and I just am filled with energy. So like I don't think it's an age thing. I think it's just like whatever is jazzing you up at this point in your life can inject that kind of energy into you,
Mm.
And like, I was just on this little short film like a couple of months ago, and it was 3 a.m. and like the call sheet said it would end at 1 a.m. And I was mad that it wasn't going to end at 6 a.m. I was just like,
Yeah.
dude, they were out here in Topanga Canyon and the stars are out and we're shooting this thing. Like, let's fucking shoot more, Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
almost like the addict, like my
Yeah.
pupils are dilating, like, um, filming shorts with that guy, Blake Rice, that we know, like, looking at him at 1 a.m. and like, we look like Gollum,
Mm.
like our eyes were enormous, like, because we just realized we got this scene that we had, written months prior, and just that thing, man. I hope that everyone finds that in whatever it is they're doing. If they're a painter or if they're a first grade teacher, like I hope that everybody gets to experience that, where it's like whether you're a teacher and you see that your lesson is clicking, and like you worked so hard all weekend to come up with it, and it's like clicking, and it makes your pupils dilate. You're so excited that like it's happening, and your purpose is like meeting your expectations. Like um I'm not delusional enough to think that only actors have that, or
Mm.
only artists have that. Like,
Yeah.
um, I'm just grateful that I found the thing that does it for me, and it's evolved, and it'll probably evolve more. Who knows where I'll be 10 years from now? But I, um, I definitely don't see stand up the way I used to, and filmmaking has kind of become that thing for me at this point.
Yeah.
Whether it's a 1 minute thing that I'm making for socials, or it's a short film, or God willing, a feature,
Yeah.
when the time comes. Um, yeah, I was exhausted, to answer your question,
Hmm.
but I was that good kind of tired,
Yeah. No, I
like
do, man. I get it. I felt that way too, and I continue to feel that way. I'm very fueled by the work that comes, and if I book a job in a show, I like wake up if fucking 3 a.m. call time, and I'm just like, yay, like otherwise, if I'm not if
yeah,
it's 3 a.m. and for any other circumstances, I'm just like, what the fuck, dude? Like this is so stupid. But when you have that
yeah,
purpose, it's just like there's nothing better than that. And I guess like my biggest kind of like curiosity in everything lately has been like, how do you navigate the come down, because it eventually ends, right? That time period, you're like, why aren't we shooting? We're out in Laurel Canyon, like we got fucking more, like
yeah,
look at the stars, like look at the fucking, like you're jacked about like wanting to do more, but like the reality is it has to end. And you know, like even for me, I'll go on fucking sets and I'll just be like, dude, like fucking try to make best friends with everybody, man, and just like try to connect and really like
Yeah.
make the absolute most of whatever situation I'm in. And unfortunately, I have had to temper my own behavior as I move towards those experiences lately because I have to protect my own energy now, whereby if I go on to, like from the experience of having done so many of them now at this point, I I now know that if I love it too much, I'm going to be devastated when it's over. And so I have to like find this healthy balance with myself of like love it, but like don't obsess because like you know in 2 days or a week or however long that 4 hours this experience is gonna be over, and the chances of you actually like continuing to develop these friendships with these people or to ever maybe even see them again is pretty slim. And so manage your expectations around that and you know like live in the space of reality and understand that like you're going to go home tonight and be sitting with yourself and it's going to be over and you're not going to be like as thrilled. And I'm curious like because you do a lot, it seems like, I mean your output for creativity is vast, like you're putting stuff out into the world a lot, and so maybe you don't have a lot of downtime, but and maybe you have a good healthy like way that you navigate like when you take your downtime you like do it on purpose and intentionally. But for me as an artist, like there's a lot of time that I'm just like waiting for the next thing to happen because you know like my writing partners or producing partners haven't gotten the thing done yet and I've done everything on my checklist and now it's over, and I'm sitting around just kind of like in with myself. And I think I have a healthy relationship with myself, but sometimes I realize that I don't because I don't have something to put my energy into. And I start to get insecure and I start to feel down on myself and I start to get really critical of like what I haven't done as opposed to like all the shit that I have been so privileged to be a part of. And it's just like this come down, man. It's like the fucking come down from drugs or the come down from fucking like a bender. And I really go through some fucking gnarly times with myself where I just feel shame and like guilt. And it's almost like the farther I get, the more anxiety I possess because then the bar is set that much higher for myself and I have to reach that now. And if I don't reach that, then everything that's underneath that is a failure. And it's not, but it feels that way. And I wonder if that resonates with you at all or like how you navigate that come down from all of this stuff when you're not working. Like what do you do and how do you stay grounded in all of that stuff? Or do you?
That's a question. I do relate to it, just about everything you just said, and that's a question that's ongoing for me to answer. And it's one of those things you might need to ask my loved ones, like how I handle it, and they might like have a better, more accurate answer than me,
Mm.
But I'm always growing up, and I got more growing up to do with that kind of stuff. Like it's almost manic sometimes, like of just like, oh, I don't want this to end. Um, I can't make this keep going. Like if it's a set that I'm on, this set needs to break down at a certain time. Um, so one thing that helps me is just being in the moment, and that's so much easier said than done. But like there was a moment in Topanga Canyon shooting this thing with this guy Dylan Bradshaw. It was just like exciting, like monster movie. I'm like trekking through the woods, like in SWAT gear, and I was just like standing there in between takes, and I was like you're saying, I was like, this will end, um, and that's okay. and I'm not always that healthy, but that night I was kind of healthy about it, and I was like, this will end. It'll end tonight, and we have one more weekend of this, and then that weekend will end. But right now, this second,
mm,
I feel the air out here, and it's a good air, and like I can see the stars, and you rarely can in Los Angeles. So it's like in Los Angeles City, but out here in the canyon, I can see them, and this is nice. Like, and there's the phrase, this too shall pass, and it's like that works for good times and bad times. I've been through bad times. Sobriety didn't stop bad times from happening. I lost my mom when I was sober. I got divorced
mm,
in 2022, and there's a lot of love there, and I'll always have love and respect for that person, and it was like amicable, um, and there's new relationship, and she's wonderful, and she shows up and she loves me, and I sometimes will tell myself I'm a tough person to love, and because I'm like a wounded animal, man. I'm like a orphan dog that you
yeah,
let in, and like I've got stuff, dude. I've like been on the proverbial streets, and I have stuff and trust issues that I shouldn't have, because some people are just here to love me, like straight up. Like not everybody is here to hurt me. I've experienced hurt, but that doesn't mean that everybody wants to hurt me. And so like um opening up my heart to people who are doing nothing but giving me theirs. um there's highs and there's lows, and there's a year ago going to the hospital because I was so sad that day. I was like, I think I need to go talk to someone, and it was too late to reach out to a psychiatrist, and I went to Cedar Sinai, and I told them I was like having bad thoughts, and and they were like, okay, uh, we can have someone, a lot of the people in this emergency room are here for physical stuff, so I think that we can get you with a psychiatrist pretty soon. And so I just sat there in the ER, and I looked around at people who were having a worse day than me. And I was like, damn, I could probably leave right now because I feel better already. But I felt so low that night that I was like, I want to show myself that I care about myself enough to get help, because I wasn't in therapy at the time. I had taken a long break from therapy, and it was like, I need help right now. I need help tonight. And then they called my name, and I sat with someone who screened me, and they were like, all right, have you had are you under the influence right now? Like, what sparked this? And I told them just some real life stuff that had happened. And that's why I was there. And they were like, have you had alcohol tonight? And I was like, no, I've been sober for 15 years. And they were like, wow. They're like, have you done drugs tonight? And I was like, no, I've been like clean and sober for 15 years. And they were like, that's incredible.
mm,
And them saying that's incredible, like it just like echoed in my mind, like that's
mm,
incredible, that's incredible. And I was like, oh yeah, I have taken care of that one part of me so well, and that is something to be proud of. And if I did the work to stay sober, I can probably now do the work to be happy again, you know. And I looked in like the reflection of the window of the office I was in, and I saw this guy who looks like an actor. My reflection looked
mm,
like an actor, and I was dressed well, and I was like, why is he here,
mm. Wow, man,
um
what a fucking moment.
and I was, and I was just like, oh, because like mental health doesn't discriminate on how you fucking dress, or
Yeah,
what kind of watch you have on, or what TV show you got murdered on. You know what I mean? Like I'm a human being that struggles sometimes. And I left that place, and my girlfriend was waiting outside to pick me up, and I stepped into a car with these big green eyes that were just waiting to love me again,
mm,
and it was like, God damn it, Evan, like you're lucky, dude, you know. And you'll trick yourself into thinking you're the opposite of lucky, and you've just been dealt shit hands, and your life's tougher than anybody else's. But like, there's somebody in there right now with like a bloody nose and a broken arm who like could tell you a story that would make you feel even luckier. And so this too shall pass. when I'm feeling bad, I'm like, all right, I feel bad right now. But I've felt bad a lot of times in my life, and it's always passed and it's always worked out.
Hmm.
So this too shall pass. And when I'm feeling really good, if I want to keep myself off of that pink cloud that I
This too
know
shall pass. Right.
if that if I think that's where I'm gonna live is just like high all the time and jazzed up and almost manic with my creative energy and output, that's gonna pass too. And so I better enjoy the moment itself
Yeah.
because like I've been present in bad moments. I better learn how to be present in good moments too. And not start tripping about the fact that it will end. Cool, it should end. Like you said, like it should end. Like it can't be Christmas every morning, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like this needs to end if it's going to go into an editing bay and become something that other people can enjoy, you
Right.
know? And yeah, that's a big one for me and I have not mastered it and I do still struggle with it. And I can say all this right now, but if you get me on that next TV show, I'm gonna want it not to end, you know,
Yeah.
because I love playing, I love it,
Yeah.
and I love meeting people, and I love hearing the stories from the stunt guys because they have good stories,
Yeah.
and I love talking to the wardrobe and
Hmm.
makeup people because they tend to be the sweetest ladies on the planet,
For sure.
and and I love eating craft services like a fucking jackass who forgot about his diet. Like every part of it is fun to me, um, but it's got a time and a place. And you know, I do try and force my life to be fulfilling by, all right, if I'm not on that set anymore, what can I shoot today that makes me feel like I've done something, like I'm saying something, like I'm having fun, like I'm creating something.
Yeah.
Um, but those days happen too where I'm just hanging with my lady, man, and if I'm in that mindset, I'm not present with her, you know? And,
Hmm.
if I'm with my friend and I'm tripping about something, I'm not listening, you know? And, I mean, we're shit actors if we can't listen, right? So, like, I try in real life too, man. That's how we gather experiences that we can then bring to the screen ideally. So yeah.
Wow, man. Yeah. Well, geez, thanks, man. Thank you for sharing all of that. That was really inspiring, and I think also, somehow relatable at the same time. Despite the context of like what other people have been through, what I've been through, it's like I don't know, man. Like what I have been so kind of blown away by through having these conversations thus far is like how not alone like I am in my own feelings of this stuff, and I'm so sorry that you felt that way a year ago, but I'm also so proud of you for like moving through it in the way that you did, because those doctors were right, man. Like that's incredible. Like that's it's like whoa. And even you having that moment, man, where you're like looking in the reflection of yourself and being like, what the fuck is that guy doing here? Like that must be that's such a cool moment. I feel like it needs to be like placed into a movie. Like
Yeah, I mean, that's where I always go with, life experiences. I just immediately want to exploit them, like I
totally
just
same, dude.
can't
Same.
help it. But yeah, I mean, I went from that room to another room that I couldn't leave,
Yeah.
and to talk to someone. And in that moment, I started like panicking a little bit, like, oh damn, am I gonna get like stuck here, like,
Hmm.
and this this therapist came in and she was asking me how I was feeling, and I was like, to be honest, I'm feeling a lot better. Like I think I just needed to show myself I cared about myself. And so coming here kind of showed me that. And I saw some other people who were having a worse time than me. And I think it gave me some perspective. And I honestly just kind of want to go home.
Yeah.
And she was like, how do you feel now? And I was like, honestly, a little embarrassed. And she was like, oh, you shouldn't be embarrassed.
Yeah.
She was like, that's actually, she was like, I like love that you came. Like, I think that's really cool, actually.
Hmm.
And that was so awesome of her to like say it like that,
Well, dude, I
to
mean,
take away
like it is
guilt and shame, you know.
for sure, dude. But I mean, like it's I would like to think. You always wonder, like you see somebody like on a movie like getting robbed or something, like I would fucking beat their ass, dude. I would go, and you're like, you
Yeah,
never know what's
yeah,
gonna happen until you're in it, right?
yeah.
And
Have you ever seen violence like happen out of nowhere in person? It's horrifying and it's
for
really
sure, and you
fast.
fucking freeze. You're like, well,
Oh, so fast. I've seen
yeah,
people get jumped. Like God, like I just like
yeah,
time stopped.
yeah. But like, dude, like to even go further, like when you're like, because metaphorically, your like violence is happening in your mind, right? When
Yeah,
something like that happens, and
yeah,
to like have the wherewithal to acknowledge it and to do something about it rather than letting it consume you to the point of like full blown destruction, dude. Like it's really powerful stuff. Like whatever that thing is in you, and maybe it's associated to like maybe like it is the blessing and the curse of you. You know, it's like they both work in tandem with each other. Like, and it's something to like be really grateful for, I think. And and it is really impressive and it is really cool. And I don't know, man. Like I'm kind of floored by you. it's it's really special, man. And I really like am just honored that you shared that. So thank you, man.
oh, of course, man. Thank you for listening and giving me the kind of energy that let me know I could open up like that. There's only certain people you feel comfortable like that with in life, and this already feels like a safe enough place to just be me. And you know, uh, when people ask what does sobriety feel like, that's just it, man. It feels like everything,
Yeah.
because like you mentioned the word like numb. I think like putting things in your face to not feel something. That was it. That was it. Like the night I learned I lost my brother, I just numbed up, and I didn't feel for years, and I took things that just drained my dopamine. So even if I wanted to feel, I couldn't even feel when I was sober because I had no dopamine left, like
Hmm.
to feel. Like if something was funny, I would go ha ha ha. Like I knew I was supposed to laugh in that moment, but I didn't actually have a laugh in me,
Right.
and so I would just kind of fake a laugh and like dude, today I fucking cry laughing, like with my hilarious friends, with my girl when we watch a certain TikTok, we put a dumb filter on our face, or we watch our dog do something stupid. Like I have laughed so hard with my friend Mateo that like I'm begging him, man, like not funnily begging him, like seriously, like begging him to stop because I can't breathe and it hurts. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
And and so I get to feel everything now. That includes joy, and it also includes hilarity and um, sensual feelings with lover, and it also includes sorrow and guilt and shame and disappointment and grief and loss. But I get to feel them today, and when I go through something, I know that everyone in my life is going to get Evan. Like they're going to get him. That he's going to show up and they're going to get the full guy. Like I'm going to be here in the way I need to be here. It might hurt, but I'll be right beside you,
Yeah.
They didn't get that when I was high. They did not get that. They got a hungover guy who's probably on something at the moment, and I didn't really have access to all of myself. I couldn't. I could listen. I could be a brick wall they could talk to, but I couldn't really feel with them and empathize and give them something back. And today I can do all of that and chase a dream and be a friend to my friends and a worker amongst workers. And my dad has a son, and my mom and my brother are not on this plane, right? But they're in my life. Like they're in my heart. When I make someone laugh a certain way, that's my mom. When I show up as a brother to my friends, like that's my brother. That's how he taught me to be a man and how to be a bro. And I have little moments to make me laugh and I look up, I'm like, that's you, mom. I know that for sure. Um, I have been through enough pain and bad relationships that I found a good one that like cares and like wants to hear all this stuff. And when it's Mother's Day, she was like well, let's cook something, like let's cook your mom's favorite meal and watch your mom's favorite movie today,
Mm,
and like having love in my life that I know the love that's beyond this life is looking down and is happy I have it is that's not a sentence I would ever say
mhm.
without being sober. Like just that I can't even describe to people what sobriety feels like because it's everything. It's like looking into a marble and seeing a whole galaxy like in Men in Black or something. Like it's just, I
Yeah.
can't even describe it to you, you know? Um, you talk about a world, a life beyond your wildest dreams. That's just it. You can't even dream it. So I can't describe to people if they struggle like I struggle. Because there's moderate drinkers, there's heavy drinkers, and there's alcoholics. And if you're a heavy drinker, then like I hope you can stop, and you probably can. If you want to. You don't even have to. Like I love the idea of drinking. I think most people should do it because it's fun. I just
Right.
didn't do it right.
Yeah.
So like, I did cocaine and bought a pet snake and like, you know what I mean? I didn't do
Right.
things right,
Right.
bro. Like I stole PS2s and from one GameStop and sold them to the other GameStop to make some money, and like I didn't do it right.
Yeah.
Some people just do a little nose candy once a month. That's great. But if you are struggling and you want to get sober, I can't even describe to you like how great your life will become and the
Yeah.
things you'll be able to do now. You know, and your dream might be to be like Leonardo DiCaprio, but the dream beyond your wildest dream might be as simple as that you realize at 37 you want to be a first grade teacher. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, like,
Hmm.
but it's a dream that you can't even imagine right now. And I and it's not. I'm not saying this to make it sound like it's all sunshine and roses. Like there's
Right.
there's tough shit.
Of
I was in a
course.
hospital a year. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Of course,
Um,
man.
but it's the ability to get through things without having it even because all of that happened and I didn't think about drinking. Like that wasn't even a
Yeah.
thought in
Right.
my
Right.
head.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Um, and it's just about having one life and really wanting it to be a good one and to hopefully affect some people while I'm here in a good way, you know?
Yeah.
And like the social media thing, I I shit on it all the time and I joke with my friends like, dude, if I die tomorrow and they say TikTok star Evan Williams
Hmm.
died,
Yeah.
I'm gonna come back and haunt everyone, dude. Like I don't want,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't want that to be like TikTok star Evan Williams,
Hmm. Hmm.
died of a protein overdose or however I end up going out. Like I I want to do so much more than this, but at the same time, I'll get a message, man, and it'll just be like, "Hey, dude, my mom died last week, and she was a big fan of yours, and me and my family have just been playing your videos
Hmm.
this week and laughing, and like that blows my fucking mind,
Yeah, man.
and it makes me cry,
Yeah.
and I always tell that person, you have no idea how much I needed that, and like I usually get them on a day where I'm like, "What the fuck am I even doing?"
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
then someone will just be like, "Hey, dude, I'm in a really low spot, and I just spent an hour watching your videos, and I laughed for the first time in a while." Like nothing is more valuable than that. There's no amount of likes or like shares or comments or whatever the
Right.
fuck
Right.
um, that mean anything close to what that means.
Right.
And that's a big reason I kept doing it.
Yeah.
Is just like the occasional message like that, and or including a friend in one and watching his eyes light up like when he sees it come together and he sees that people like it. Like um, I do not always have my heart in the right place, but when it is, I remember that this is all for fun and it's really just to make people laugh and bring a little joy.
Yeah.
Um, and it's selfish, man. It's for me. It's
For
just
sure.
because I want to feel and stay sane. And if I'm waiting on things to happen for me that I have no control over, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah.
And so if I can focus on things that I can control and like make something out of nothing, I'm gonna feel good. So it's not just like I don't want to send the wrong message like I'm just this selfish hero that's just spreading laughter across the planet. Like
No, man.
it's
Like, yeah,
for me, man,
for
you
sure,
know.
dude. You're representing yourself well. I remember a string of videos that you made when you were raising money for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. Excuse me. And yeah, you were like, if you donate, I'll make a video for you and fucking laugh and say something silly, whatever it was you were saying. Uh,
Yeah.
and then like your video after the fact was you like just I think you were like sitting in your car or something and you were just having like a moment with yourself because you had like I think hit the goal that you were aiming for and like surpassed it by far, and like nobody wanted videos from you because they were just like, dude, we're just doing this because like you are an amazing person, and like we support you because you are raw and honest, and like you don't need to spend any more time doing anything for us than what this last video already did for us. And man, like I was fucking sitting there crying myself just
Yeah,
watching
bro.
you, dude. And it was like,
Good
this is
shit.
what it's all about. This is what it's all
Yeah,
about. And like, if you can, and you do, find ways to connect with people on that level, there's like nothing better than it, man. Like you can try to get on set all day long and like have that experience in Laurel Canyon, be like, no, I don't want this to end. Like this is so much fun. But dude, if you can touch people and move people in ways that like they reciprocate back to you this love and affection that just breaks you down and makes you realize that like what you're doing without doing anything more is like enough, and that you are like a conduit of love and generosity and compassion, dude, that was really really powerful when that happened, man. And like you've gone on to do many more things similar to that, and I've seen interviews with you where you've been really candid and honest, and even here it's it's hugely impactful, man. And as funny as you are and as like cool as your content can be and as popular as you can get on the all of the platforms, like keep going, keep getting more and more popular, because ultimately when people like, if you have millions and millions of people getting to see you and then you get to hit them with that truth and that reality and that honesty of who you are, dude, that's a big deal, man. And I think like that's my understanding of your core, and something that I'm aspiring to have more of in my life as I move through this. And I'm old. I'm a couple years older than you, even, man. And I just like, it's so great to hear from people, because you always associate by age. I guess not anymore at this point. Like fucking pushing 40. Like what is this age, anyways? Like what even? Where are we in on the spectrum
yeah.
of this shit? Like
I was on
2024.
that. Yeah, I was on that short film with an older actor, man. His name's Joseph. I will find his last name, but he was awesome, man. And he's a really interesting actor, very very good, very well trained and present, and just interesting like character. Like you could put him in anything. And and he asked questions about every line. Like he had a question about every single line. Like he really wanted to know, like what was going on. Like what's the motivation, and he cared a lot, and it never was overstepping. Like it just made the movie better.
Mm-hmm.
And he started studying acting when he was 55, and he was married with three daughters, and so he was like, I couldn't just tell my family, peace out, I'm gonna act now. He's like,
Yeah.
so I just studied acting for 10 years, from 55 to 65. And he's like, I think 70 now. And so he's just been auditioning for 5 years. He's already been in like 100 things.
What a legend.
He had some that went to Sundance this year. Like he loves it. He has the energy of a kid about it. Like it doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
age doesn't matter. I've always much more appreciated the stories of Alan Rickman, than I have like the child actor who just fucking blew up, and it all just, not that it landed in their lap. That's a whole other struggle I can't imagine.
Yeah.
But later success is just always. interests me more. I will watch that Tonight Show appearance way quicker than any other one. You know, like let me hear the story from the real ass dude,
Yeah.
you know, or lady who just like waited tables forever, man, and just like and got noticed right when they were supposed to, you know. And if they would have given up a year before, it wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have had this great role, like you know. Um, yeah, that's my favorite shit.
Me
It
too,
just is.
man. Do you ever think about doing anything different, or is this just like, are you just in it for life? You're a lifer.
There's no plan B, man.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah,
I know.
that's it, dude. I have
Yeah,
no.
good,
There's no other thing. Yeah,
good. I'm
yeah,
glad that was. I'm glad that's your response, man. Because I look forward to not only seeing so much more from you, but working with you as well. I think
yeah.
that's in our cards
We
for
have to,
sure.
man. And we will. And whether that's like delusion or not, you know, like you were saying earlier, you know, I just want to be buddies with everybody. I want to work with them all again. And the reality of the matter is, may never see them again.
Hmm.
I'm delusional. Where like every set, I'm like, I'll work with
Hmm.
that guy
Yeah.
again, and I believe it
Oh,
too.
I
Like
have a list, man.
it
I'm like,
might be crazy, it might be stupid, but I'm just like I believe it. Like
yeah.
I really truly think all these people, you included, that I want to work with, it's gonna happen. You
You
know?
have to, man. You have to be delusional enough to believe that you can, and then,
Yeah,
from there,
yeah,
kind of start taking the steps towards whatever it is that you can do. And, if anybody can do
yeah.
it, if anybody can move through all of this stuff, man, it's you. You've proven it to yourself time and time again. And I hope that, like, I hope for your sake that you never have to, like, contend with another situation like that you did a year ago. I'm
Same.
sure, certain things will come, that you'll have to
Sure, dude.
combat,
Yeah,
as they will for us all. But I don't know, man. I'm like
yeah.
really, really looking forward to watching your growth in like the film and television world, on the stage world, all over the place. On even on TikTok, dude. I don't even have TikTok yet, but I'm gonna get it just to watch
Yeah.
you.
Nah, bro. It's all the same on Instagram. You don't
I
even
know,
need
I
it,
know, I
man.
know, I know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, man, I'm really excited to try and just like, I don't know, man. I just want to be like closer with you as a friend. I just want to like spend more
Yeah.
time like hanging and chatting and
Yeah.
sipping coffee and like laughing about stuff and having belly laughs because
Well, thank you for using this as an excuse to start that. Because
absolutely,
I'm down, bro. Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
man,
Let's do it. Yeah.
dude.
And anytime you want to come out, we have a guest room, bro. So that bet's yours.
Where are
Seriously.
you?
I'm in WeHo,
What's that? Oh, West
West
Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Oh, that's what they call it
Yeah,
these
yeah.
days.
I feel like an
WeHo.
asshole. I feel like an asshole.
WeHo. Yeah, I'm out
Lift
here
up
in
an
Brooklyn,
avocado
man.
toast. I start eating avocado toast. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
What's the difference? I'm curious. What's the difference? Like, you spent how many? You spent like what, like 7 or 8 years in New York, and then you've been out there for about the same
8
time.
years 8 years in New York, 4 years here.
What What'd you think?
I love it, dude. I
Really?
love it. Yeah, I didn't when I moved here, man. I didn't like it. I moved here in the beginning of the pandemic though, so that was uh, not a great time to move anywhere. It
Hmm.
was a couple weeks before it happened
Oh, geez.
that we moved here, and you know, it was tough. And then uh, getting out of that, you know, I then moved in with my dad for like 4 months in North Carolina
Oh, wow.
as I got uh, my my life and my plan together, and moved back here in January of 2022. And so that's really what feels like my time here.
Yeah.
That's been how long I've been truly experiencing, like, you know, all of what LA is. And it was still tough for like a year, but this past year has been pretty awesome. I mean, I just like once you find where you like being the most, like, and you find your coffee shop and you go
Yeah.
enough times, they know your name. They're like, Evan, you one or two today? Because I'm a fucking addict, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And and you find your friends that are doing the same thing as you, and you guys link up a few times a week, and um, have writing sessions, and you're making stuff, and you got your favorite theater, and you go catch a screening at Tarantino's New Beverly. Like,
It's cool.
you go for a hike in Runyon. Like, I don't know, man. I never expected to be talking like this, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like New York guy is like making fun of this guy right now. You
Yeah.
know, like
WeHo.
fuck yourself, bro. WeHo, nice, man.
The fuck is
Trying
WeHo?
to
Yeah,
scooter around. Yeah,
it's cool, man. I've been considering, a move. We'll see. My family's all out west, anyways. So
can't help but just agree with you, bro. But like that is something I will admit is that LA people are constantly trying to like recruit New Yorkers here,
right,
you
right,
know?
yeah,
So like it's partially that we're lonely. Like we just want you here because
yeah,
we want more friends, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
But I think you would crush it here, but you would also crush it anywhere, man. And like I you impress me as well, and I need to tell you how proud I am of you. You
Thanks,
know,
man.
you're an honest dude who's vulnerable and hardworking. You also work, bro. Like, congrats. I mean, you crush it, dude. Like you're in stuff and like you get booked and like that's a big deal. Like that's for anyone listening that isn't in this. That's like lightning striking, man. Like booking something is one of the hardest things in the world, and I know that like yeah, I know that you work hard and I know that you believe and you're here today, man. Like anybody who has survived life in general, let alone a life like this that is filled with rejection and still believes you're going to be so much more than okay. So
Yeah, thanks,
wherever
dude.
you are, you're going to crush it. Selfishly, I want you to crush it here
Yeah, well,
alongside. Yeah,
you might get your wish, man. Might come true. We'll see. I have a lot
come
of
through, man.
figuring out to do. Might come to WeHo and fucking run some canyons with you. Fucking
Do it, bro.
try to get my 8 pack in line like yours, dude.
I
That's
mean,
the
I don't
only
know.
condition, dude.
You know what?
You gotta get me fucking jacked, bro. I'm trying to fucking
Let's
get
do it, man.
chiseled. I'm trying to look like
We'll
you,
go to.
dude.
Come on, bro.
Help me fill in my patches on my fucking ugly ass fucking chin strap, dude.
I don't know what the workout can do for that, but I will. We will get jacked. Absolutely.
Perfect.
And again, look up photos of Keanu Reeves's beard.
Yeah,
You'll
perfect.
you'll feel good about it, man.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Evan,
you both.
man, dude, I can't thank you enough, dude. I know I said it was going to be an hour, but we went over, and
All good, man.
I'm
All good.
honored that you took the time. I'm thrilled that I got better acquainted with your story. I really am proud to know you and proud of the work you've done to get to where you're at. If anybody's listened to this that hasn't already like followed you or knows about you, go follow this guy. You're a fucking proper dude, man. Like your shit is always on point. It's always funny. It's always good. It's always heartfelt for whatever like the purpose of what you're trying to put out. You're putting out is it does what it's supposed to do, and
Thank you,
I
man.
think
That means
people
a lot.
recognize that. Um, yeah, man.
Appreciate you,
Thank you
man.
for being here on the precipice of delusion, man, where we talk about fucking being sad and shit, you know?
Good, man. Good.
No, man, it was very insightful, and I appreciate it forever, dude. Keep kicking ass, dude. Love you lots, dude.
You too.
You're a genuine dude, and I'm very happy to know you.
Hey, love you, bro. Thank you, man.
Beautiful, right? What a guy. I love that man. I got really nervous. I was like sweating throughout that episode. But he really moved me and made me feel all the feels. I hope there was something in there that you got out of it. Sometimes when I start talking on this podcast, I lose my words and can't form sentences. But maybe that's because I'm nervous to talk to you. I'm trying to be so clever with you guys. Thank you all again for tuning in. This has been so wonderful. I appreciate you. Make sure you go on and like the video, like the episode, follow along on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to this thing. Subscribe on YouTube to my channel. We're still a very small community here, guys. I am a one-man army, so I need all the help that I can possibly get. So do all those things for me if you can, if you have the time to spare. Go, please, and share this with your community. Talk about it with your friends. If you have artists who are thoughtful in your world that you think could get something out of this as well, send it over. Let them know. I'm trying to expand this thing. I'm trying to get guests in the studio. I'm trying to build this thing out. So help me, and I promise to keep paying it forward with these episodes and with this show. Also, I have a Patreon page that I have just started. I am going to start doing pup puppet shows. I got this puppet here. This is like I call him Diego Gavilanes because he's like my dad. If you're not watching on YouTube, then you don't know. But I'm going to become a little ventriloquist here and start doing some stuff. Hola muchachos! I cannot believe you are here to celebrate with me. It is going to be such a pleasure to play and get silly and have a couple shots of tequila with you. Or my favorite, a gentle B-52. Okay. That's Diego Gavilanes, guys. Give a round of applause for Diego Gavilanes. He'll be coming on the Patreon page along with all of my other 6 characters who I am developing as we speak. It's going to be fun, guys. I'm going to start doing conversations possibly with my girlfriend Rachel once a week, just checking in, throwing stuff up there, having some like really personal check-ins with each other, some puppet shows. I'm going to be starting an OnlyFans. That's not true, but I got you. Nobody wants to see that shit. But yeah, I'm just going to be trying to get creative on there and doing some fun stuff for people who are, contributing to this show. So you can join for as little as $1 a month. It's very reasonable if you want to get to see the exclusive stuff we got up there. So jump on board, tag along, and thank you all for being a part of this thing. We are cruising, and I love you. Bye.
Now that's what I'm talking about.